What I want to cover today is the idea of a framework you can consider for personalizing communications, right? So I'll cover a couple of ideas around it, and then we'll actually end with a live demo that you'll be part of it. So hopefully you'll stick around for that. So this is the question that we ask, right? Why is it so difficult to update your communications compared to your websites? Right? Like some of it you may know, well, the obvious reasons, but here are some stats. When you think of a mobile app, it gets updated every 30 days. Websites are updated from 6 months to 2 years, but in many cases it's 6 months to a lesser cadence. And then when it comes to communication, it's just a big question mark. When was the last time you updated your IVR? Of course, it doesn't apply to customers using Twilio. They would be updating it all the time. But the serious question really is that why isn't the case that the communication doesn't get updated that often, right? When was the last time new channels were added, like Facebook, Facebook Messenger, or Alexa, SMS, or if you're just using voice and SMS, or SMS, then why not voice? And when was the last time you built something where you could actually pivot channels? And then this is a discussion we all had. How often do you visit your omni-channel communication flow? Today's answer would be 5 minutes ago. But in general, that wouldn't be the case, right? You have a huge strategy session. You have to hire a lot of consultants. The traditional approach is get the RFP going. Well, actually RFI, lots of template questions, RFP, and then you're actually going to develop something that's 2 years old, and then already the customer expectation has moved on. So that's really what goes on these days. So what is the reason? I think what could be the reason, right? I think it's one word, and it starts with complexity. Complexity of provisioning software and hardware, complexity of having siloed systems, right? That are your business systems and communication systems weren't designed from the get-go to be all integrated. And then the procurement and provisioning models, right? These are business models that are not designed to keep up with customer expectations, because that wasn't their intent. Their intent was to solve one bit, that is communication, minus the whole context of customer bit, the very bit that customers care, right? In all the sessions we had, the idea was that, well, how do we manage this context that we are collecting from customers? So the next time when we reach out to a customer, they reach out to us, I know what they are looking for. Even if it's 2 or 3 different agents, can that be a seamless conversation? That's really the question. So I think when you think of a framework, the way to look at it would be that there are 2 bits you need. You need the freedom to experiment and the freedom to integrate. And I'll read out a bit here for you guys in the back. When you talk about freedom to experiment, it's really about, can I do A/B testing? Can I create the right customer experience? I mean, Lucas significantly focused on the idea of being able to do A/B testing by first collecting the right set of information, and then refining it, and then running all the advanced algorithms like machine learning and all that bit. But that's not possible if you can't get fine-grained information. So that's really the idea about experimentation. And then the idea is about integration. How can I deeply integrate my communication within my business systems so that I can have the right context, right? It's really coming down to that. So when we think of these 2 bits, one of the approaches, of course, from a Twilio perspective is that you use application programming interface, or APIs, right? We refer to them as building blocks. Now, this is a quote that I just found literally yesterday reading on McKinsey and Company's website, and it's from September 2017. It says, for companies who know how to implement them, they can cut costs, improve efficiency, and help the bottom line. I mean, it's an incredible blog post that McKinsey has put together that has a kind of a nice framework of how to think about APIs, not just from outside partners, but even internally within your organization, how you can kind of expose them to your other providers or consumer of your APIs. So this may be quite common to many of you that have been using APIs, but essentially from our perspective, this has been obviously very successful from a Twilio perspective in customers loving it and using it. So these are some of the other API-first companies that offer their products or their capabilities through a set of building blocks. So certainly we're all aware of Amazon Web Services that offers compute and storage. You have Google Maps, and that's just a representation of similar companies like that. Then we have Stripe that does payments, has beautiful APIs for that, and then of course Twilio for communications. A lot of this bit, you guys will actually hear it quite a bit tomorrow in your sessions, but I thought I'd just give you an overview of what Twilio provides so that if some of it you find it interesting, you can find the right session to attend. And this is a slide that probably is familiar to you because George also kind of referred to it. So the idea from a Twilio perspective is that Twilio offers many different building blocks, right? For a lot of customers, it could have just been they started with SMS or voice, but Twilio has really progressed over the last few years. But the most important bit from a Twilio world is what we refer to as super network, that essentially talks about global coverage and resiliency. It's our connectivity layer to all the global carriers. So you can do inbound, outbound calling, have phone numbers in over 100 countries. So that's really the foundation that Twilio has. It's kind of the core bit of the platform. And then over the years, we have added additional channels. So we have SMS, voice, video, fax, because we certainly like to bring even the past into the present. So we have added that. We'll have other bits as well. So from a Twilio perspective, the idea is that one of the beautiful things about building blocks is you can use any channel. There's no order that needs to be used in, right? So you could use SMS today and move into video, or just use video and then move into voice, right? That's cool. And then on top of it, we also have intelligent services that makes it easier to do global communications. So SMS, as you know, is quite messy globally. So we have intelligence built on top of it. So SMS Copilot is one of the examples of that. Now, we're not stopping at this. We have realized it. And I think if you remember George's conversation, we are really listening to our customers to say, well, we actually need even higher level abstraction and building blocks. So this is kind of just the basic idea about what we refer to as engagement cloud. And in that bit, we are talking about pure software layer like task router that allows you to route any kind of task. So in a contact center space, people are familiar with ACDs and routing a call. This could be any type of channel, essentially, that you can route using task router. So that's a purely software-based solution, but it allows you to integrate with all the other Twilio products. Similarly, Authy for two-factor authentication and phone verification. Now, one of the most important bit for Twilio is actually the right side, runtime. After all, it's still a developer platform. So for us, it's extremely critical that regardless of the low-level APIs or higher-level abstractions we build, it meets the need of our developers. That's the most critical bit for Twilio. And for that, we have things like functions and all the bits that developers need to make their life easy. Because at the end of the day, quick iteration is dependent on how easy it is for developers to build. That's what it comes down to. All right, so this is one of the interesting questions I've seen quite a bit. And the question is using APIs a technical decision? Maybe we do a quick show of hands. How many of you think it's purely technical decision? Okay. How many of you think that it's really a business decision? All right, one side needs to convince the other. No, I think what I've noticed, and we have noticed at the company and the team here, is that it's really both. It's really a decision that's both technical and business. And in some instances, it's actually a much more critical business decision, because the idea of using API is the idea of building. It's an organizational mindset of building software. Because it's not just about API, it's about the idea of being able to do agile development, experimentation, A/B testing, quick iterations of software cycles, getting feedback from the people on the ground in the contact center agents versus business analysts with an MBA trying to figure out what a contact center does, right? So it's really the idea of really getting everybody engaged. So in that context, API is just a means to that end, right, of meeting a business requirement. It's just a tool that makes it very easy, but at the end, it's really an organization needs to be ready as well. Certainly using APIs and building blocks makes it productive, but you can get much more leverage out of it when the organizations are aligned as well. So I'll quickly want to go through an example of one of such customer. So this is a short supply source. They were founded over 100 years ago, based in Chicago, and they provide e-commerce logistics solutions to Fortune 500 companies. So it's from anything from logistics to supplies you need to run your organization, they provide that. They've invested heavily in the last decades to build a very sophisticated e-commerce system. But the interesting bit about them is that up until recently, if you called up their IVR, it would sound like someone from the 1990s, right? Very basic. Press 1 for sales and 2 for support. Had no integration. Now, some of their customers told them that their stores are in locations where there's no internet connection. The only way they can place an order is through speaking to someone or calling up a number. So what they did was, and this is a story that many of you may be able to resonate with, is the idea that they actually did a prototype of using Twilio IVR that was integrated into their e-commerce system in one day. They had few web developers that sat together and built a prototype. And that prototype led to getting feedback from their greater sales team and their organization, and essentially led the requirement. So now they will be putting it into production for thousands of stores globally. So that's kind of the idea. And again, the whole idea is that from no integration to actually deep integration where customers can place orders was possible with them. So it wasn't just about APIs, right? They are a very traditional company, but they're still, they've been resilient for over 100 years. They must be doing something right. And a lot has to do with being able to adapt with time. So they have that builder's mindset of iterate and change. So as I promised, there's no Twilio talk without a demo. So here's a demo for you guys. So this is a good time to be rude and actually, or won't be rude if you can pull out your phones. And I'll be noticing who hasn't called, so. All right, so the demo is quite simple. I really wanted to show the power of building blocks. So I built a demo that I'll quickly walk you through. So I apologize, you guys may not be able to see it in the back, but it's really simple. I will be showing you guys a phone number that either you can call or text, and it's an IVR-driven bot. So a bot drives all the interactions when you call up that phone number. And basically what happens is that a customer calls a phone number, Twilio speech recognition does the speech to text. Then I use Google's API.ai to actually do the intent analysis. And then when the intent comes in, I use Amazon Poly to do text to speech. Of course, a lot of these bits can be managed by Twilio, but I wanted to show the power that by using a platform like Twilio, you can easily integrate into other systems. All right, so this is the actual phone number. Let me repeat it for you. I'll start with the UK phone number. So it's +44 1323 702 021. Again, the number is +44 1323 702 021. Sounds like bingo or something. I'm like reading numbers. Anyway, so if you call, there will be an IVR. It's like an example of booking a hotel. And then if you text, you can maybe just, this is probably going to be hard to see, but it says you can start with, I want to book a hotel. And there will be a bot that will actually drive that interaction. Okay, good. So the couple of things. So some of you were able to reach and get the text responses. Voice, because of the ambient noise, wasn't that, some of you finished, some of you didn't. But couple of things that I'm learning, of course, this is a demo. But a good bit of these voice bots and chat bots is really the corpus of knowledge they have to train on. So more you train on that information, smarter these bots become. So right now, if you say something silly, you may get a response, you may not, because it's all about that training. And that's why I think we're starting with this. The technology exists, but you really have to focus on the domain that you want to implement, and that really makes it more effective and practical right now. And as you collect more information, these systems get smarter as well.